Welcome to the debate. So imagine you are sitting in your living room, right? You're staring down the barrel of your webcam.
Oh, a very familiar scenario these days.
Exactly. You are applying for a job that could completely change your life. But the entity conducting the interview isn't a human being. It's an algorithm.
Right, it's just code.
Yeah, and it is quietly tracking your eye movements, analyzing your word choices, and measuring your tone of voice. So do you act like your warm, authentic self? Or do you suddenly stiffen up, scrub the personality out of your answers and try to act like a highly logical robot?
Well, that is exactly the situation millions of people are finding themselves in right now. I mean, we've rapidly transitioned from human decision makers to AI-based tools in recruitment and student admissions.
It's everywhere.
It really is. And it's no longer happening behind closed doors. We have new transparency laws like the European Union's AI Act and New York City's Local Law 144.
Right, the disclosure mandates.
Yeah, which essentially force organizations to put a giant neon sign over the application process that says, "Warning, an algorithm is judging you."
And that neon sign is completely rewiring how we behave. Which brings us to the core question we are exploring today. Does this shift to algorithmic assessment fundamentally compromise the hiring process? By forcing candidates to strip away their human intuition in favor of cold analytical traits?
Or is this merely a temporary psychological adaptation based on, inaccurate popular beliefs about machines?
Exactly. Now, I take the position that this AI assessment effect fundamentally distorts recruitment validity because applicants artificially suppress their human intuition to satisfy what they perceive as cold machine logic.
And I take the position that this behavioral shift is really just a modern iteration of standard impression management, driven by inaccurate lay beliefs that will naturally self-correct once candidates realize AI can actually interpret emotion.
All right, let's get right into the mechanics of this. When we introduce artificial intelligence into the recruitment process, we aren't just swapping out a human resource manager for a piece of software.
Sure.
We are creating a systemic distortion in human behavior. The source material we are digging into today encompasses 12 highly rigorous studies, right?
That's involving over 13,000 participants, right?
Over 13,000, yes. And the data across these studies point to a very clear, undeniable phenomenon. When people know they are being assessed by an algorithm, they strategically downplay their intuitive, emotional, and social characteristics.
Well, they try to, at least.
Right, but why? Because human applicants hold a deep-seated belief that algorithms rely entirely on facts, logic, and cold rationality. They think machines prioritize analytical traits.
To beat the bots, so to speak.
Exactly. They reduce themselves to quantifiable metrics. But this strategic faking fundamentally undermines an organization's ability to evaluate a candidate's authentic qualities.
I see where you're going with this.
If you are hiring for a role that deeply requires complex human intuition like a nurse or a counselor or a team leader, but your applicant pool is pretending to be a group of unfeeling calculators, you inevitably end up with mismatched hires, massive operational inefficiencies, and ultimately diminished employee well-being. We just end up evaluating a mirage.
I don't entirely buy that framing, and here's why. I will readily concede that the AI assessment effect is a real, measurable phenomenon.
The data is pretty solid there.
Oh, the data is robust, absolutely. 13,000 participants is a massive sample size, but I fundamentally disagree that it permanently invalidates AI recruitment or represents some apocalyptic distortion of the hiring process.
How is it not a distortion if they're faking their core personality?
Because if we ground our understanding in impression management and self-presentation theory, which are, the absolute bedrocks of behavioral psychology, we have to acknowledge that candidates have always misrepresented themselves to human assessors.
Well, sure. Faking isn't new.
Exactly. We have decades of literature on how applicants fake their way through interviews. The current behavioral shift is simply driven by what researchers call the analytical priority lay belief.
Okay, break that down for us.
So, a lay belief is just a common sense, everyday assumption made by the general public. In this case, it's the assumption that AI lacks emotional capabilities and only cares about logic.
Which makes sense to most people.
It makes intuitive sense to them, sure, but it's not the technology that is flawed. It's not the AI that is corrupting the process. It is the applicant's temporary misunderstanding of how the tool actually works.
I see why you think that's just a temporary hurdle, but let me give you a different perspective on just how pervasive and frankly damaging this behavioral shift actually is.
Go ahead.
Let's look at the nature and the scale of the distortion, specifically drawing on the exploratory study conducted with Equalture, the employment software company.
The game-based assessments.
Yes. They looked at 1,421 applicants who are undergoing these game-based assessments. Now, for context, a game-based assessment isn't a multiple-choice test. It's an interactive puzzle.
Right.
Maybe you're popping digital balloons to measure risk tolerance or sorting images to measure cognitive flexibility. It's designed to measure your natural, intuitive reactions.
Subconscious behaviors, essentially.
Exactly. But here is the fascinating part. The company never explicitly stated whether the assessor was an algorithm or a human.
Wait, really? So the applicants weren't even told an AI was grading their game, but they changed their behavior anyway?
Exactly. They suspected algorithm involvement anyway, rating their suspicion a 4.69 out of 7 on average. I mean, they smelled the bot in the room.
That's incredibly high for an unprompted situation.
It is. And the crucial finding is this. The higher their suspicion that an AI was watching, the more strongly they self-reported actively adjusting their behavior to be less intuitive and more analytical.
Okay, but
this creates a dangerous homogenization of candidates. Think about it this way. It's like a chameleon turning entirely gray because it assumes the observer is colorblind.
That's a dramatic analogy.
But it fits. It isn't just hiding. It is actively suppressing its biological advantage, its very nature, to appease a completely flawed assumption about its environment.
I mean, I hear you.
If every single candidate suppresses their human intuition to pacify a machine, we lose the true spectrum of human capability required for complex jobs. We are not just seeing standard impression management. We are seeing the erasure of human intuition in favor of a homogenized, cold analysis.
Okay, you bring up the Equalture data, and while those numbers are real, your conclusion that this is the erasure of human intuition is a massive leap.
How so? The data shows they're suppressing it?
Let's look at how this aligns with standard dual process accounts of human reasoning. For those unfamiliar, the dual process theory essentially says our brains operate in two modes.
System 1 and System 2.
Right. System 1, which is fast, emotional, and intuitive. And System 2, which is slow, deliberate, and analytical. You are framing this shift towards System 2 analytical thinking as a dangerous homogenization.
Because it is. They're abandoning System 1.
But I see it as people naturally adapting to a new assessment paradigm. This is what humans do. They use their lay beliefs to navigate high-stakes situations.
But those beliefs are forcing them to act like machines.
When people today take master classes to learn how to, get past the AI hiring filter, how is that fundamentally any different from historical coaching?
It feels very different.
Think back to the 1990s. People were coached to give a bone-crushing handshake, maintain intense eye contact, and use aggressive action verbs on a printed resume.
To appease a human corporate recruiter, yes.
Exactly. The chameleon was turning navy blue instead of gray. Impression management requires two things: knowing what is being assessed and estimating what will be favorably evaluated. Right now, their estimation is just skewed.
But it is a difference in kind, not just degree. A handshake, even a heavily practiced one, is fundamentally an expression of human connection.
Is it, though? If it's totally forced?
Yes, because emphasizing analytical traits while actively suppressing your own emotional intelligence isn't just playing the game. It is a suppression of humanity itself.
I think that's overstating it.
You're forcing applicants to essentially alienate themselves from their own intuitive strengths.
But the underlying psychological mechanism is exactly the same. I mean, when a naturally introverted, highly intuitive person forces themselves to be loud and aggressively decisive in a group interview.
Because they think the human hiring manager wants an alpha personality?
Yes, they are suppressing their authentic self based on a lay belief. Right now, the lay belief is just pointed at a machine instead of a human.
All right, well, let's transition into exactly why this lay belief is so powerful and whether the modern algorithm actually demands this cold analysis, or if applicants are fighting a ghost.
I'd argue it's definitely a ghost.
Because I don't entirely buy that this is just a harmless misunderstanding. AI assessment processes are widely construed by the public as purely data-driven.
Which is part of the lay belief, yes.
Right. They are seen as relying on objective, quantifiable, and rule-based analysis rather than subjective, intuitive, and qualitative reasoning. And let's be honest, for a long time that was absolutely true.
Keyword being was.
But early algorithms literally were just keyword scanners. I mean, if you didn't have the word synergy on your resume, the bot threw your application in the digital trash.
Sure, early parsing software was incredibly crude.
Because of this historical reality, the assessment landscape actively rewarded cold analytical traits while neglecting qualitative dimensions. Therefore, the behavioral shift by the applicants, the suppression of their intuition, isn't just some misguided misunderstanding.
You think it's justified?
It is a rational, necessary survival tactic. If the machine only eats data, you have to become data to get past the gate.
Let me push back on that, because you are basing your argument on the premise that the public's perception of AI perfectly aligns with the technological reality of AI today.
Well, they certainly inform each other.
But the source material explicitly refutes that alignment. The lay belief that AI only values analytical characteristics is fundamentally inaccurate now.
How so?
AI is actively building and in many cases already possesses highly sophisticated capabilities to detect, analyze, interpret, and even mimic emotions and intuitions.
But how does an algorithm actually detect intuition? I mean, at the end of the day, it's lines of code.
It detects it through natural language processing and multimodal analysis. Modern AI doesn't just scan for the word empathy.
So what does it do?
It looks at the semantic distance between words. It measures how often you use inclusive pronouns like we versus I.
Okay, linguistic markers.
Exactly. It analyzes micro-expressions of hesitation or warmth in a video interview that indicate deep empathetic processing, things a human eye might actually gloss over.
I see.
The algorithm is mapping the syntactic relationship of your linguistic markers, so this analytical priority lay belief is a lag in public understanding.
A lag?
Yes. The applicant's behavioral changes, these survival tactics you describe, are actually misinformed. They are optimizing for an outdated 2015 version of the technology. Applicants just don't realize the bot is already looking for the human.
Okay, that's a fascinating point about semantic networks. Though, I would frame the impact a bit differently.
Go on.
The technological reality of the AI's current processing power actually doesn't matter if the belief is what dictates the human behavior. Let's look at the legal landscape mentioned in our sources. Take Illinois' Artificial Intelligence Video Interview Act.
Right, the transparency law.
Exactly. This law requires employers to explicitly notify applicants if AI is being used to analyze their video interviews.
Which is a good thing for privacy.
Ethically necessary, sure. But put yourself in the shoes of a candidate. You are sitting in your living room and a prompt pops up legally notifying you that an algorithm is about to analyze your facial movements and speech patterns.
It's intimidating.
Highly intimidating. Even if that AI has the most sophisticated emotional intelligence on the planet, the sheer psychological pressure of being watched by a machine is going to trigger a defensive, hyper-analytical, rigid posture.
I can't argue with the anxiety it causes.
The transparency law itself induces the exact behavioral distortion we are talking about. The reality of the machine is totally irrelevant if the psychological trigger is real.
I actually agree that the transparency laws are the immediate catalyst. I mean, by forcing disclosure, laws like the EU AI Act and Local Law 144 in New York City are making the assessment method highly salient to the applicant.
It puts the neon sign in the window.
Exactly, which triggers the impression management. But again, you are assuming this defensive posture is permanent. Let's look at the life cycle of lay beliefs.
Okay, life cycle.
Lay beliefs are just common sense explanations for the world, and they evolve as the world becomes more familiar. Right now, AI assessment is viewed as a cold calculator.
Reducing individuals to quantifiable traits, yeah?
But what happens over the next 5 years? What happens when the first generation of workers who are hired by AI, who are highly empathetic and intuitive, start talking about their experiences on social media?
You think the culture will shift?
Absolutely. What happens when AI companies market their tools publicly, not as efficiency engines, but as emotional intelligence identifiers? The lay belief will shift. The chameleon will realize it doesn't need to turn gray anymore.
But while we are waiting for this hypothetical societal enlightenment, what is happening to the organizations using these tools right now?
Well, this brings us to the future validity of the assessment process itself. If we accept the premise that applicants are currently shifting their self-presentation to appear more analytical and less intuitive, we have to look at the immediate consequences.
Which are? The research clearly points out that such strategic shifts in self-presentation actively harm the validity of assessment measures.
Yes, validity drops.
And they are negatively related to actual job performance. Organizations are adopting AI to achieve massive efficiency and productivity gains. But if the data they are feeding into the AI is actively corrupted by the candidate's strategic faking, the promise of AI efficiency is a complete mirage.
You get bad data.
Exactly. You might be able to process 1,000 resumes in a single second, but you are processing 1,000 fictions. You are hiring the person who is best at pretending to be a robot, not the person who is best for the job.
I appreciate the concern for organizational validity, and I think any industrial organizational psychologist would agree that validity is the holy grail of hiring.
It has to be.
We absolutely must maintain intellectual humility here and acknowledge that there is a real risk of temporary distortion. Organizations might gather noisy data in the short term.
Very noisy data.
But the history of psychometric testing shows us that we can design assessments that account for faking. This isn't a new problem for psychologists. We build in lie scales. We use forced choice formats where both answers seem equally desirable.
Sure.
We measure reaction times.
Wait, how do reaction times solve this?
Well, AI is uniquely positioned to handle faking because it doesn't just read what you say, it reads how long it takes you to say it.
Oh, interesting.
If a candidate is faking a personality trait, say trying to appear hyper-analytical when they are naturally intuitive, it cognitively takes them milliseconds longer to select that answer.
Because they have to translate their thought.
Exactly. An advanced algorithm measures that latency. It knows you are translating your authentic thought into a faked response.
That's assuming a lot of sophistication.
As AI's ability to interpret qualitative reasoning and detect these micro-latencies becomes public knowledge, the analytical priority lay belief will dissolve. True assessment validity will emerge.
Because they know they can't fake it?
Because humans will realize that machines can evaluate their intuition just as well as their logic. The system will stabilize.
I highly question how long that stabilization takes and how much immense damage is done to organizational culture in the interim. Let's think about the specific dimensions the research focuses on.
The analytical, intuitive dimension.
Right. They chose to study that dimension because it reflects a fundamental decision criterion for almost every job. If a hospital is hiring nurses or a school is admitting counseling students, the suppression of the intuitive dimension isn't just noisy data.
It's the core skill.
It is the active filtration of the exact core competency required for the role. I mean, you want a nurse who operates on deep human empathy and rapid intuition in a crisis.
Of course you do.
Even if the AI can theoretically measure intuition through semantic networks or reaction times. If the candidate is actively trying to hide that intuition out of a misplaced survival instinct, the AI cannot measure what isn't there. You are filtering out the best candidates before they even get to the human round.
But you are assuming the AI is easily fooled by superficial suppression.
I'm saying they're not putting it out there to be read.
But, as I mentioned with the semantic networks, the sophistication of modern algorithms means they look at thousands of underlying data points.
Right?
If a candidate uses highly analytical, rigid language, but their underlying word associations reveal strong empathetic reasoning, the AI can detect that baseline trait.
I'm skeptical it can read through a completely rigid persona.
Furthermore, the responsibility here falls squarely on the organizations, not just the tech.
How so?
If a hospital is hiring nurses and using AI, the the organization can explicitly state in their transparency disclosure, "We're using an AI assessment, and this specific algorithm is calibrated to highly reward empathy, intuition, and emotional intelligence. Please be yourself."
You think a disclaimer fixes it?
You can actively counteract the lay belief with targeted, intelligent communication. You don't have to throw the baby out with the algorithmic bathwater just because people are initially confused by the tub.
Okay, that is a fair countermeasure in theory, but it heavily relies on a level of organizational competence and transparency that, let's be honest, I am not sure we consistently see in the real world.
That's a fair critique of HR practices.
Often, organizations buy these AI tools off the shelf from third-party vendors. They treat them as proprietary black boxes.
Right, they don't even know how it works.
Exactly. The HR department often doesn't even fully understand how the algorithm evaluates candidates, let alone how to accurately and legally communicate that to an applicant.
True.
If the HR manager doesn't know what the AI is prioritizing, they can hardly assuage the fears of the applicant in a disclosure statement. And this circles back to the core psychological reality.
Which is the high stakes of the situation.
Yes. The assessment situation has direct, life-altering consequences. Being selected or rejected dictates a person's livelihood.
Absolutely.
When the stakes are that high, people will not trust a reassuring paragraph of text. They will rely on their most deeply ingrained cultural assumptions to protect themselves. And right now, the reigning cultural assumption is that machines are cold, and to please a machine, you must be cold too.
I concede that the black box nature of vendor algorithms immensely complicates the communication piece. I mean, HR departments absolutely need better training on the tools they deploy.
Desperately.
But let's look at the grand evolution of this. We are transitioning from a world where hiring decisions were solely made by humans to one where they are augmented or completely handled by algorithms.
A massive transition.
Any transition of this magnitude creates friction. The researchers who authored our source material explicitly note that this work offers practical insights for organizations navigating the integration of AI.
It's a roadmap, essentially.
Right. The solution to the AI assessment effect is not to abandon AI assessment, which, we should remember, objectively reduces certain types of human bias and vastly increases efficiency.
If the data is good.
The solution is to study this psychological shift, understand the mechanism behind the analytical priority lay belief, and design behavioral interventions around it. We are simply in the awkward adolescent phase of human-computer interaction in recruitment.
An awkward phase that currently dictates who can feed their families and who can't.
Yes, the stakes are incredibly high, but let's honestly compare it to the alternative. The human assessor is not some flawless, perfectly objective baseline.
I never said they were.
Human assessors bring implicit biases, decision fatigue, and mood fluctuations to the interview table. If an applicant walks into an office, sees golf clubs in the corner, and fakes an interest in golf for 20 minutes to build rapport,
right,
that is also a distortion of validity. The AI assessment effect is simply the algorithmic equivalent of faking an interest in golf. It is a new behavioral variable to control for, not a fundamental invalidation of the entire scientific method of assessment.
I see the parallel you're trying to draw, but I maintain it is a difference in kind.
Why? It's just faking.
Because faking an interest in golf is a specific, targeted lie to build superficial rapport. Suppressing your entire intuitive, emotional capacity to present as a hyper-analytical data processor is a fundamental alienation from your own human strengths.
I think you're romanticizing the human interview.
It is a much deeper, more systemic behavioral shift. The research shows that this isn't just about answering one question differently. It is a systematic, across-the-board downplaying of emotional characteristics.
Which again stems entirely from the lay belief, the belief that machines prioritize analytical capabilities over emotional skills. If we change the belief, we change the behavior.
If it were that simple.
It is a psychological problem with a psychological solution, not an intractable technological doom loop.
Well, as we draw this discussion to a close, let me summarize where I stand on this issue.
Please do.
I believe the AI assessment effect is a profound disruption to the hiring pool. By legally necessitating transparency, we have inadvertently created an environment that pressures humans to suppress their intuition, and emotional intelligence in favor of machine-like analytical traits.
And I hear that concern.
This strategic faking, driven by a deep-seated fear of algorithmic rigidity, actively distorts the data organizations rely on. Ultimately, it threatens the validity of the very efficiency AI promises to deliver, because we are forcing our most complex human thinkers to act like cold calculators.
And to summarize my view, I see this phenomenon as a standard, entirely predictable psychological reaction to a novel paradigm.
Just an adolescent phase.
Exactly. It is impression management functioning exactly as it always has throughout history. The behavioral shift is driven by a temporary and inaccurate public belief, the analytical priority lay belief, which incorrectly assumes artificial intelligence lacks emotional nuance.
But they'll catch on, you're saying?
Yes. As AI capabilities like semantic networks become more widely understood and as organizations learn to communicate better, this temporary distortion will resolve itself. The chameleon will learn its true colors are exactly what the machine is looking for.
Despite our different lenses, we certainly have strong points of convergence today. We both agree that transparency legislation, while vital, has inadvertently triggered systematic behavioral changes in applicants.
We do agree on that.
We also agree that organizations cannot simply plug and play these AI tools. They must actively account for the psychological shift in their candidate pools and adjust their assessments accordingly.
Absolutely. Where we continue to diverge is on the permanence and severity of the problem. You see a permanent corruption of assessment data and a loss of humanity.
And you see a self-correcting adolescent phase of technological adaptation.
Exactly.
It is a fascinating tension, and it leaves us with a rather profound irony to reflect on.
Oh, what's that?
We are living in an era where thousands of brilliant engineers are working tirelessly to make machines more adept at mimicking human emotion, empathy, and intuition.
Right.
Yet, on the other side of the screen, we have thousands of humans busy trying to mimic cold, analytical machines just to get hired.
That is a stark irony, I have to admit.
It sees the psychology of AI assessment contains much more to be explored by researchers, developers, and policymakers alike. It makes you wonder, the next time you prepare to present yourself to an algorithm, are you a human trying to connect, or a chameleon turning gray because you assume the machine is colorblind? We will leave that for you to decide.